Most people think the story of Binance and its founder CZ is a classic tale of crypto riches. Build a massive company, get wildly wealthy. But this book, it argues something far more dangerous and a lot more true. This isn't a success story. It's a confession.
Right from the very beginning, CZ makes it crystal clear. This isn't some victory lap. This is a cautionary tale. It comes straight from the man who is standing at the absolute epicenter of the crypto storm. And he's explaining how the very same philosophy that made him a billionaire is also what led to his downfall.
So, what was the real problem here? We're talking about the founder of the world's largest crypto exchange, and he's now admitting his entire approach was built on a fundamental, incredibly dangerous mistake. He had a massive blind spot.
This really gets to the heart of the conflict that defined his whole journey. On one side, you've got the builder's dream, move fast, innovate like crazy, and prioritize explosive growth above all else. But on the other side, you have the regulator's reality, rules, compliance, stability. For years, he truly believed that the first one was all that mattered.
This admission right here, it's everything. Think about that analogy. He treated the rules of the entire system as just an afterthought, like some cosmetic finish you add at the end. And that single mistake, that one way of thinking, set the stage for a really painful education that taught him 3 unforgettable lessons.
So the first big takeaway is all about a single, irreversible decision he made long before Binance was even a thing. To really get why he had such a meteoric rise, you've got to understand the moment he intentionally burned his own safety net to the ground.
Okay, so this wasn't just a risky investment. He wasn't just buying an asset and hoping for the best. By selling his only home, the one place he could retreat to if everything else failed, he was psychologically redesigning his entire relationship with risk.
This move forced him to operate from a place of necessity, not just choice. And a mindset like that, it fuels an incredible focus for sure, but it also created a culture where moving forward was the only thing that mattered, embracing this total freedom to build while completely ignoring the consequences that were building up. And this is the part most people miss.
That whole move fast and break things culture, it was always going to collide with the real world, a world that has rules, consequences, and guardrails. And that brings us to the second, really crucial lesson.
You can actually see how his view on regulation went through this painful evolution. At first, he saw rules as just annoying obstacles, things to be engineered around. But then he started to see them as, quote, the accumulated wisdom of decades of market crashes. And finally, it hit him. Rules aren't the enemy of innovation. They are the absolute foundation you need to build mainstream trust.
And this wasn't some minor oversight. He flat out admits it was a core failure of his leadership that led directly to him stepping down, pleading guilty, and his prison sentence. Which brings us to the final and, honestly, the most profound lesson he learned. So after building and then losing one of the biggest financial platforms in history, his definition of what freedom even means was totally turned upside down. He makes his case that the ultimate goal, it isn't what any of us think it is.
After losing his company and his own personal liberty, freedom got completely redefined. It was no longer about bypassing financial systems or anything like that. It became about personal sovereignty, just the raw power to control what you focus on and how you spend your days.
He argues that true freedom, it's being able to choose your work, to focus without being constantly pulled in a million directions, and maybe most importantly, having the power to protect your own boundaries and just say no. These were all things he completely lost while running a global company at that relentless pace. It was a kind of freedom he only really understood after it was already gone.
Okay, so if we tie all of these lessons together, what do we get? We get a really powerful new blueprint for anyone trying to build something new, and not just in crypto, but in pretty much any field. This, right here, is the core thesis of the entire book. He learned the hard way that true, lasting innovation doesn't come from just breaking all the rules. It actually comes from understanding them so deeply that you can build powerful, amazing new things within them.
And that leaves us with a pretty provocative question for anyone out there with ambition. Because, it's one thing to have the freedom to build whatever you want, but it's another thing entirely to understand that there's no such thing as freedom from consequence.